Hey, entrepreneurs, are you curious how truly to leverage your business data? Are you tired of multiple applications without seeing real results? In this episode, we're joined by Peter O'Sullivan, an expert in data analytics and operations, who will demystify the power of data for businesses under 100 million. And a lot less than that as well, too. So don't get scared. Peter's the founder of HighBeam Analytics and will reveal why an additional application like his patented Insight Q is a game changer and how it can be customized for distributors and key elements that you need to enhance your data capabilities. We'll also dive into AI and how managers can harness this technology to transform their operations. Don't miss this chance to learn from the master. Tune in and revolutionize your business on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking for ways to grow your revenue while growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia, Riner, known as the Profit Booster, and I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something super special for you and perfect for this time of year. If you ever wanted to supercharge your business and avoid those profit plateaus, operational headaches, or growth roadblocks, well, I've created a brand new Profit Booster playbook just for you. You'll uncover 3 essential strategies and a quick way to take action on them. Now, this isn't just a single-page report. It's filled with impactful strategies, actionable steps, and expert guidance to elevate your profits. Go download it for free at boostingprofit.com. All right, my guest on today is my provisor friend, Peter O'Sullivan. Peter is an expert in operations and data visualization. He has a degree from UCLA and an MBA from Santa Clara University. He's also a Six Sigma black belt and is a patent investor. Early in his career, he worked with large companies like General Electric and AT&T, and later became, because an executive of smaller technology companies, where he learned how to design and implement software applications. His third career, a turnaround management consultant, gave him the insights into both the value of analytics and the key elements to running a successful small business. In 2018, he founded HighBeam Analytics to serve smaller businesses that needed to be able to compete with Fortune 500 companies who were already using data to win the markets. He invented Insight Q and is a predictive business intelligence application that allows ERP users to unlock the data to optimize sales and operations. Peter, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast.
Oh my goodness, that was a mouthful. I give
Well,
you way
know
too
what?
big a bio.
Well, you know what, though? The audience needs to know a little about you. And if I can give it to them in a formal sense, and then we're talking, they're going, wow, this guy really knows his stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
well,
so, yeah, why not do a
hopefully we'll
little
get there.
formal introduction?
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be here.
Absolutely. I love it. So we're both provisors, which is a huge community of high-end professional networkers that come together and connect each other and deliver excellence to our community. And so we met and I thought, wow, you had such a unique angle of data analytics that I thought my audience and your audience and those listening really needed to find out. So I'm glad I was able to tie you down and get you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so, the big question is business owners are in their business, doing their day-to-day stuff. They're slaying dragons and putting out fires and chasing customers. Why do they need to understand their data?
Yeah. So what I find is most business owners rely on a kind of a subset of data because that's what they grew the company around, especially founder, owner, managers. And usually that comes from their balance sheet and their income statement. And that's awesome. And that works really well. And I'm very good. I learned over the years how to look at a balance sheet, income statement, and I can tell a whole story about a company. And then I would take all that data and I would put it into all my Excel models and create new visuals for myself so I could advise the customer or the client, especially when I was doing turnarounds, about where we're making where we're effective. And I don't want to change what's effective. That's one of the number one rules when you're a management consultant is
Yeah,
don't
don't change
fix.
what's working.
If it already works, get your ego out of it and let that be, and then focus on what's not working. So you have to measure, especially if you're the new guy and you don't know the story about the company. The first thing you do is try and measure what's working, what isn't. Well, there's lots of limitations to an income statement, a balance sheet. Namely, an income statement, a balance sheet is historical. It doesn't tell you what's going to happen. And it's also designed under GAAP. And all GAAP's about is telling you how much profit you have so you know how much to pay Uncle Sam. GAAP doesn't care about your efficiency or your effectiveness as an organization. So we do a lot of things. Really good CFOs and controllers and accounting folks do a lot of workarounds to try and figure out where their efficiencies are and are not. And there's a better way to do that. And that's what has happened more recently with data analytics and AI is we found that there are better ways to do it. Now, the problem is bridging from that to the new model can be very intimidating.
Absolutely. And I think just understanding the numbers and in the hopes that your accounting team or your CFO or your controller, or if you're small enough where you don't have those, you are literally relying on an accounting team that's looking in the rearview mirror to say, oh, this information you're doing well. You should change this or you should change that, which I think we're in the smaller space, we get limited and trapped in that space because we don't know what to read through, what lines to read.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here's the irony is, I come with a company called HighBeam Analytics, so that already it's like, okay, can I just take a nap now? I don't need more analytics. I've got, maybe I've got a lot of applications or I need to install an application and it's kind of counterintuitive. Do I need another application? Does that make sense? So it's almost a completely counterintuitive that you would add to what you've already got. But there are two reasons why this is the right approach, not even for smaller companies. In some case, really more for smaller companies because you have less time, fewer resources, and you typically smaller. And when I think of smaller, I think of the under 50 million, under 10 million. I've worked for very small companies. I get it. You're completely overwhelmed, right? So one of the things that we take advantage of is what's called visual analytics. You can Google it. It's not anything secret, but there are very specific ways to deliver tons of information in a very easy to read and intuitive format that right away you get it. For example, when you see your income statement, and then when somebody takes a graph and shows you over time where your revenue has been and where your cost of goods has been, that tells you years of data that if you were just having it in a big spreadsheet, it would take you a long time to try and figure it out. And so visual analytics is really a core part of what we deliver.
Which is incredible because that's the challenge. People want, especially business owners that are slaying the dragons all the time, they don't have time to calculate and go, oh, what percentage up was that? Oh, were we down or were we up? Or where's that line going that follows all the way through when you get that, especially you get a year or you get 3 years of data in front of you. If you can make it a picture, a graph, a bar chart, a scale with an arrow, then the owner goes, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. And let me add to that. That's it should be intuitive to the viewer. So right away they should get it. That's our standard. And for anybody out there that isn't in the market for what I do, they want data analytics, but they're not a distributor because that's our model. You're a
Mhm.
professional services organization, or you're doing something that doesn't fit our model. This is still all the same rules that you follow, which is you should be able to look at it and understand what you're looking for. And there are four areas that you use, four ways you use visual analytics. One is, I wrote them down to make sure I got it right. One is when you're doing comparison. So you're trying to compare last year over this year. That's one way. The other is distribution. So I'd like to know what the range of costs or pricing that I have of my product. Let's say I price it differently for different customers. Understanding that range is a distribution model, that's a different visual that we would get. That might be a bubble chart. The other is composition. So what is included? For example, when you're doing a breakdown of your cost, there's a new term. It's actually old calculation, but it's a new term. It's called unit economics, which takes a single SKU or a single service, and it breaks down all of the costs to that service, and then the profit on top of it is really helpful for managers to be able to see that unit economics, and then they can aggregate or they can add them all together and see big groups of them. And finally, it's relationship. So if you're doing advertising, what's this relationship of this advertisement to both revenue and cost to my product in any kind of a format? Those are the four big buckets. So when someone's designing a system for you, if you decide you want to build it yourself or you want to hire a consultant to build it for you, they should be following, for example, those four rules around how do we build the visual analytics. It's not just throw a graph up there and hope they can figure it out. There really are purposeful ways to deliver lots of good information in a very succinct way.
Well, you know what? And that's it, because if you're looking at what you can change incrementally in your business, no business should just, come and pull the rug out from underneath you, but you want to make those little incremental changes to improve your operations, your delivery, your pricing, your customer experience. I mean, everything that you have in your business can get little improved tweaks. And that's how you increase your profitability. But if you don't know what's happening, how can you know what lever to pull?
Oh man, that is the best. That is brilliant, because that I preach that all the time. When you're in there, it's like you're in battle every day. You're trying to just get a little edge and a little edge and a little edge on all these things, especially if you're more on the C level, if you're the CEO or the COO, or you're the vice president of operations. There's just a constant battle that you're after. And what's so important is to know, like I said right in the beginning, what's the stuff that I should be really focusing on that'll get me the best use of my time? Because the one thing I can't make more of is time. That's kind of the Warren Buffett piece is I can buy anything in the world, but I can't buy time. So if you've got only a limited set of time, guess what? That's all of us. Then what is the thing I'm focused the most on? And that's one of the things that data analytics and visual analytics in particular helps an executive do, is go, that's where I really should be spending my focus. You're not going to fix everything. Every company is broken. I've seen every kind of broken company. It feels like
we're all broken.
Yeah. We're all less than perfect. Every organization is less than perfect. The question is, where should I be focused? Where can I get the best leverage? How do I go to my marketing agency or my marketing people and say, these are the areas I want you to focus on, because they need your leadership to know what the pieces are that they see are more valuable, or they're bringing it to you and saying, this is what we recommend. And you want to have some insight to be able to give pushback or approval to the activities they're involved in.
Wow. And so, okay, I'm talking to you from the audience here.
Yeah.
This seems a bit overwhelming, right? To be able to, and probably quite expensive to create my own data analytics in a visual format. And oh my gosh, do I have to hire another company or application or team? I'm scared now.
Yeah, you should be.
What I
That's the
don't
bad
know
news.
is scary. And this is something that I'm sure a lot of listeners are going, I didn't know that.
Well, so we tend to say, I'll do it later because it's just going to be overwhelming. And I know it's going to be a big project and I'm going to have to get really involved. I mean, that's exactly why I invented my tool. But so here's the pieces that you should know. For folks that are not buying an application that's already ready for your industry and your niche, it can be very intimidating. The truth is, when done correctly, data analytics and business intelligence application is kind of the umbrella. It really irons out and gives you a ton more time back.
Oh,
There
yeah.
are some real important elements. For most of us, we have to go to a consulting agency to say, you're going to have to outsource it because you're not going to have those folks hired. The folks that you'll need is someone that understands data, databases. You need a data scientist. What the hell is a data scientist? You need a data. There's a whole group of people that are coming out of grad schools today that have those skill sets. And guess what? They all get hired right away by the big companies. And that's what I
I'm sure they're
found
not cheap
was
either.
they're not. If someone has a background in AI, for example, if they have hands-on experience, their salary is if anybody's younger and looking for a career, their salary is 25% higher than everyone that doesn't have AI, any
Wow.
exposure and understanding of AI. So and by the way, it's coming. I'm gonna regress a little bit. My dad founded a business in 1959. He sold it in 1971. And in that transition between that decade and a year on each end, he passed away a couple years ago. He lived a 95, a beautiful life. But I got, because I'm the business guy in the family, I got some of his business records, and they were old spreadsheets, and they were income statements and balance sheets that were handwritten. Now think of the trauma it had to be for anybody in that time to go from that to a software application where I'm going to put my balance sheet and all my numbers in this little box called a computer. So moving today from where you are to a data analytics platform, I hate to tell you, but it's order of magnitude easier because at least the technology is there, it's affordable, and there are really competent people that know how to do it. But if you're not in the distribution business, that's why I built mine. I went from a large company where I had a whole team already assembled and they already had the database and the application set up, to a small company, and I couldn't get to it. So I said, somebody needs to build this for these businesses. And that's where InsightQ came from, is I built it for distributors. If they buy or sell SKUs, that's the business model, and it's designed for that. And that's, if you're not in that space, then you have to figure out how to build it. And typically you're going to have to look for a consultant that has experience. The first thing I would say is you need a domain expert that has experience in your specific industry or industry type. Because if you're the one that's trying to explain to them how your business works, how your industry works, you're already going to be way behind the 8 ball, and you're going to spend a lot of money in them experimenting. Does this work? Does that work? And you have to kind of design it for them. And what you want is them to say, I'll design it for you.
So question for you though.
Yeah.
What's the probability of me having to design it or finding somebody that's already designed something that would work? Now, obviously, it's not going to be perfect for. So, say if I'm a plumbing company or
Yeah.
or an attorney, they're
Yeah.
little polar opposites there, but
Yeah.
shouldn't there be data analytics already designed for that?
So there's going to be some, and usually they're going to be in small niches. Like mine is a turnkey. It plugs right into their ERP, and they're up and running because I take the role of the COO or the CEO. And so all of that's already built. But if that's not where you're at, that's exactly right. And what you can do is you can start small. You can start with just, for example, the application. And one of the applications, there's a bunch of them. Looker is one of them, which is free, by the way. You can get an application for free. Of course, you're getting hooked because as soon as you start building on that platform, really hard to move to another platform. And that's like, but that's not uncommon. That's like your accounting software, right?
Sure.
Somewhere along the way, that's a good parallel, which is somewhere along the way you decided, I'm going to get QuickBooks because it's easy, it's free, it's straightforward, and that's what you're looking for. So you can use some tools that are very easy. The visual tool, it's that we have the whole infrastructure underneath it, but the visual tool that we're using, we're on a Microsoft platform, so we use Power BI, and I really like Power BI for a number of reasons. There's a ton of skill out there. There's a lot of people that you can find that know and have used Power BI.
So
the other is
tweak
it's
it for you.
But well, you're not looking for a consultant. I just got a request from somebody that's using a really obscure ERP and something that's actually pretty easy to do, but they can't find anybody that understands that ERP. Always want to pick an application that people know. So there's lots of talent out there. So you're not trying to find a consultant that knows how to use the tool. So you can
Right.
start with something like Power BI, or you can use Tableau. We don't use Tableau because we didn't have the whole Microsoft infrastructure. We would have to patch it all together, and you can do it. It's not impossible. It's just I like having everybody. I like having one go-to technology string to build on, and I'm very familiar with Excel, and I'm very familiar, obviously, with Power BI. That's just the visual layer, but that can give you a lot of insight into what data analytics. You can start with that very inexpensively, and with a good consultant. And if you have anybody that's in your organization, doesn't have to be you, anybody that's in your organization that knows, for example, SQL, that's the database language. If they know SQL, that's kind of, if you're going to start someplace, get something like Power BI or even Looker, and make sure that you have someone that knows SQL, because now they know data and databases, and they can write code for you, and you can start the process and become educated along the way. Obviously, the advantage for people that are in my industry and that use my tool, they don't have to wait for it. It's already done, and we're up and running. In 30 days, they're up and running, and they don't have to train me on how their business works. I already know where
already
they're
know it.
going, and even if it's nothing else, just speed to market, it's a lot faster to get going.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So still a little scary that we'd have to build our own app on it, but I think
Yeah.
the trade-off for the data that you're getting and the decisions that you could make on the other side is huge.
Yeah, this will happen. So if you're thinking you're going to need to do it, you will. And the analogy I used earlier, which is, imagine somebody trying to run their organization doing
Handwritten
manual.
balance sheets.
Yeah, it's just not. So will it take 10 years? It won't take 10 years for data analytics like it did for moving accounting software from paper to software. That took longer, but we're all aware that technology is going faster and faster and faster. You can, like I say, you can get started inexpensively, put somebody on a 10-hour-a-week retainer or a 20-hour-a-week retainer, and with naming what are the top things that you want to be able to see. Even if you just take your accounting information, you say, I want to visualize everything on my accounting. Just start with that. Like, start with the known to build the application yourself, to get yourself exposed to how it's going to work. So then when you hire somebody, I want you to tie into my accounting data. And then I want you to pull that out, and I want you to show me multiple years, and I want to see. So you start saying, how would you like to visualize your accounting? And by the way, there's this thing called YouTube. Some people are familiar with it. I literally call it YouTube University. I spend, this is not about me, but I spend between a half an hour to an hour watching YouTube videos 5 days a week, because that's when I do my workout. And I put on technical stuff that will get me educated. If you spend 30 minutes a day, every other day, so let's say it's twice a week or 3 times a week, just learning about what a data analytics is or Power BI, you will get there. And you give that three months, and now you're 10 times smarter than you were before. I read this book called Atomic Habits, if anybody's interested. And that's sort of where it came from. Like, what if I just do a half an hour a day? And it's amazing. Over a short period of time, you can learn a lot. So the information and the learning is out there. And as a leader in the organization, this is not, will I need to? This is, you will need to. That's the bad news. The good news is the more you understand it, the easier it is.
And I think what to back away from that is you don't have to know how to write code
No.
and manage the data, but you have to understand enough to hire the people that you're going to bring on your team that are going to do it. So you have to have a fundamental education of the information that you're looking for. And you can rely on your accounting team, on your controlling and CFO team. You can rely on experts like us that know what to look for and what truly drives things along the way. But you still have to have kind of a fundamental understanding of what drives your business. And when you do, and you layer that the visual analytics on top of it, you can go, wow, I can hire you. Now I know what to expect too. of what I'm asking you to do and what I might be able to pay you for it, so you might not get robbed or taken advantage of because you built a little bit of knowledge around it. So I love the idea of the business owner not adding another skill set to themselves, like, oh, I'm going to go build an application, like we all think we can build our own website and do our own accounting. Wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that foundational knowledge of you've got to know. And I know you're a fan of AI, and I am currently dating Chad GPT. So, knowing that the power of AI, you can even cut your learning tool down, your learning time down by just asking the questions to Chat GPT as well.
Yeah, let me, if you don't mind, let me chat
Please.
a little bit about AI.
Yeah.
So ironically, so saying AI is like saying software. That's the first thing. Because can you do this in software? The answer is always yes. Now let's go, you got to dive deep into it. So when we say AI, it's artificial intelligence. There's a whole range of different types of artificial. That's the bad news. Then everybody goes, oh crap, now I gotta learn all this stuff. What I do want to do is help you separate, help the audience separate between AI and generative AI. What we found most recently, why we're all getting involved, all of us are getting involved, is generative AI has come to our desktop. Technology works when two things happen. The price point comes down to a point that it's accessible, and then the usability is such. That's what Steve Jobs taught us all, if we haven't learned. The usability, when you make it easy to use, which is, and I'm speaking from the foundation of how I built my application, when it's easy for somebody to access and use. So all of a sudden you can go on to Claude or ChatGPT and you can type something in, it'll give you an answer. Okay, so that's the start, and that gives us most exposure. That is all generative AI. And generative AI is this notion of what's called a large language model. And what they did is, a number of companies did this. They pointed their AI application and they used a more sophisticated type of application that has the ability to learn on itself. And they pointed it at our language, and they got these large language models. And that large language models have finally come to the point where they're mature enough to be able to talk to us normal people that only type in Google searches, right?
Right.
There's a whole body of new knowledge, new understanding, which is called prompt engineering. So some of us are hearing, if you have a better prompt, you'll get a better answer. I want people to use this to think what you're doing is you're actually going to a huge unknown database, and you're telling it, these are the constraints I want to give you. I want to see this, 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 and this. That's telling the AI, I don't want everything. I want these pieces. And that prompt engineering is the core to how you can leverage generative AI. Now, AI itself is machine learning in part. Now, people can quabble over my definitions, but I want to keep it at just the human level. That's been around. Machine learning has been around for decades, literally. That's what Amazon has been kicking everybody's butt with, and many other companies as well. That is that's what Google does, that it can find things and it learns and it starts to learn about what you're doing. Generative AI is the application where it goes even deeper. These are nodes and how deep these nodes work. So that's sort of the underlying technology, and where it can teach itself and it can come up with novel concepts. Now, here's the irony. I'm going to give a confession. We are working on generative AI and trying to understand how we can use it in our application. And I am having a hard time sorting that out. And the reason why is because I have built it for a distributor. And what do distributors want? They want more of the Six Sigma stuff that we talked about, my black belt Six Sigma. They want lots of predictability and very little variation.
Yep.
Well, generative AI is about coming up with something new.
Variations.
No, I don't know how creative. I don't want to hire. If I'm a distributor, I'm not hiring an artist, to paint the warehouse. I need somebody that's analytical, that says it arrived today, it's going to sell tomorrow, it's going to ship on time, and it's going to go for this price. And we want predictability. So we are really about the machine learning, which gets better and better at being more precise, as opposed to novel thinking, there's a place for it in our application, but that is not the first place we're going. So I only say that because I want the audience to know generative AI is awesome. There is a place for it. It is a phenomenal technology, but it doesn't work in everything. You need to know what the problem is you want to solve,
Right.
and how the application is going to solve it. And by the way, sometimes it's easier just to solve it on the back of an envelope, a number on the back of an envelope, rather than trying to put it in code. So there are reasons why you use technology in different areas, and you want to have people around you that understand that.
Wow, love it. Thank you for the education on AI, which was really insightful and helpful. And like I said, I've been playing in it for a long time, helping it, and it is 1,000% correct that you have to have the correct prompt. So prompt engineering and designing to get the information that you're asking it to do.
Yeah.
But I think where this whole level comes in, though, is that you can get that education, you can get that foundational education so that you can understand the product a little better and the data that you want to have. But have you ever thought to further this conversation a little bit, to use some of the generative AI to design the graphics?
So
To answer the question in pictures of
yeah. So I've seen a bunch of folks doing those models. Everybody has and I should be, I'm very picky, and I have a vision for where I think it should be. And I gave you earlier the visualizations. They do create visualizations. And so one of the models that we have that comes straight from, we didn't design it. It comes straight out of Microsoft. So we're sitting on all the Microsoft AI. So we have the latest AI technology, and they do put visualizations. And one of the models that they've got right now, I live in data, and I'm still trying to figure out, it's really powerful, but I can't quite figure out how I'm going to use it. Like if I'm an owner, what do I do with that information? And it's a causal report, and it comes out and it looks really pretty. But if I can't say, gee, that would make me spend more on this ad or less on this like if I don't know what the action step is of it, then I have a hard time putting it into my, I want everything that comes out of my application, someone to go, I need to spend more money in advertising there. I need to reduce my inventory here. We probably can
answers to the questions and guidance on the next clear best move.
And move on. I've got other things to do, including maybe golf on a Friday afternoon. Like
what? No
let's
way.
let's give an executive a break, and be able to be more productive in their life. If they're more productive, they're going to guide and lead better. Our tagline is smarter leaders, better decisions. And that's really at the core. It's not just a cheap tagline. It really is how I think about how you should design any of the data analytics. Is you should be smarter when you use it, and you should be able to make better decisions. And if that's your criteria, you'll build a really good foundation for how you're going to use data.
I love it. This has been so insightful on managing data. And I've had data analytics guests on before, and we talk about the decisions that can come from it. But really, truly, it's nobody does anything with it, right? They just, they get their report and they go, oh, okay, I see where I am on this bottom line, and that's a good or that's a bad. And they don't ever do anything with that data to be able to compare, gee, well, how does it compare to your competitor? How does it compare to the market? How does it compare to last month, last quarter, last year? How can I make that look forward for the future year? And then even more importantly, as I love the way you articulated it, did the product get delivered on time? Did I get am I sitting on too much in my warehouse? Am I, what SKU, what price should I put on that SKU? All the factors that make that you can make little incremental changes. It can really boost your bottom line. And if you have more money, you can do more stuff.
And so I'll give everybody a little insight into these management consultants, all of us folks that pretend like we're really smart, and some of us are really smart. But what happens is when you see 10 companies that are same type of company, you see the same mistakes we're all making the same mistakes, and then there's differences, right? So you come in and they go, oh my gosh, you already have an answer for that. Yeah, I had three companies before then to try and figure out how to solve the problem. You're just the fourth company that showed up and now I've got an answer. So management consultants typically have seen it all. They've seen it before. They've already solved that problem. They have to tweak it to your culture or your resources or your circumstance for sure. And that's where the skill comes in. But usually most of us already show up with a bag of tricks and then we unveil them according to the priority of what the company needs. So it's always good to have somebody come outside your company to come in because they're just going to bring resources that you don't even think exist. And then hopefully they have this, a very ego neutral approach to how do we help solve your problem. And if you can get that, then you're going to get way ahead.
Wow. What a perfect view of how you never make it alone.
No.
No company has ever survived and became successful and made the list, right, on their own. They had people, they had team members, they had advisors, they had consultants that came in and mentors that helped direct them, and they always looked at their data.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes.
Love it. Peter,
Yeah.
this has been fun. Where can listeners find out more about you, your data and analyst analytic application, your company, just where they might be able to get more resources?
Well, I've been following your lead, so I've started posting small videos on LinkedIn, but the best place is from highbeamanalytics.com. I know that's long, but I should get a smaller URL, but HighBeam Analytics, just how it spells. And I've got some blogs on there and some videos. And look, it doesn't matter if you're not a distributor, if you're a small company and you want, a half an hour of my time. We improvisers, I think, take a great deal of pride that we are a very generous community. We're here about, uplifting all of us around us. We all benefit from helping each other. So I'm very open and available to folks that just need a little bit of help along the way. And I can always point you to resources as well. And I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, listeners, I know you need to go to HighBeam Analytics just to find out what you don't know, right? And what you could know that could benefit your company. And I know all those resources are super helpful. And so thank you, Peter. This has been great.
Marcia,
and listeners,
I enjoyed it.
I hope you found a couple ideas that you can put into your business to make you more profitable. And I know that understanding your data, I've said it before, but getting the tools and the support and things are so readily available these days that can help you make better decisions. And I would highly encourage you to start looking at how you can improve your business with AI and data analytics to be able to, go where you wanted to, or even take the Friday afternoon off to golf, right?
That's okay too.
Yeah. All right. As I mentioned before, how would you like to supercharge your business? Go ahead and download my new Profit Booster Playbook packed with 3 profit strategies and the actionable steps that you can take to make this your most profitable year ever. So go grab them for free at boostingprofit.com. And Peter and I would love to hear your questions, your comments. Tell us what you look at inside your business right now to tell you what you're going to be doing next week, next month, next year to be able to be more profitable and ahead of the market. So throw it in the comments. Peter and I will comment back on it and tell you hey, have you thought about looking at this too? And then while you're at it, subscribe. You don't want to miss future episodes. And we're always live on Tuesdays. So you can catch Profit with a Plan on your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show.